I teased this dry fire swinger target on my YouTube channel a couple days ago, and I planned on doing an in-depth walkthrough video on exactly how I made it. That's going to take a lot of time, and I don't feel like it, so I'm just going to show you what I did and let y'all figure it out on your own. It's really not very difficult to do. It took me maybe an hour, and that included running around trying to find all the tools around the house that I needed. Sorry for the backlit lighting here. This thing's kind of big and it doesn't fit on my workbench, so this is the best place to film it. The basis of the swinger is a bearing. And I was at Lowe's, I was looking around for just like a roller bearing or a thrust bearing, something like that to make this work. Of course, they didn't have anything and I didn't feel like going anywhere else. This was kind of built on a whim anyway. But I did find these casters that have ball bearings built in, basically. So these are the casters here. You probably can't tell in the video, but they actually have little balls in here, and they work as a bearing. They actually spin pretty freely. This particular one, I said I bought it at Lowe's, 1 1/4 inch plate roller caster. I'll include links to all this stuff. If I can't find it on Amazon, I'll include links to Lowe's, so y'all can find the stuff there. But this is the basis for it. I kept the plate, obviously, and I kept this the bracket system that holds the wheel in place. I took a hacksaw and cut the shaft and removed the shaft and wheel. You can use anything, a Dremel tool or something like that. That'll probably make life quicker, a little easier. I didn't feel like getting mine out for that. I think it's about 3/4 inch spacing in between the two arms here that hold the wheel. I tried to use a piece of 3/4 inch wood in between there, and it wouldn't quite fit, and I didn't want to stretch it out. So at the store, I ended up buying 1/2 inch poplar. So what I did, after I cut the wheel off, I actually squeezed it around this piece of wood, and that's just a 10x24 bolt going through it. You have to be careful when you do squeeze these arms in like this. It actually bends this plate up here and will cause the bearing not to work as well. So I ended up tapping on the middle of it with a hammer and kind of flattening that back out. And it seems to work pretty well. I'm using two alternating holes for each of the for that plate that the wheel mounts or the caster would have mounted to. So being that I'm using alternating holes there, I can adjust the arm up or down as needed. And I just drilled a 1/4 inch hole at the bottom here to attach some weights to, and those weights are just stacked fender washers. And like I said, I drilled multiple holes here to adjust it. You can add more washers, take them away to get the swing that you desire. It's not perfect. It seems to kind of settle down pretty quickly, a little quicker than I'd like. But there are other options. You could use an actual bearing and probably get a little bit better results than just a caster. The frame, this is 1/2 inch by 2 inch poplar. That was 4 foot piece long, or 4 foot long piece that I got, like I said, because I didn't feel like actually getting the table saw out and ripping some 2x4s down or 2x6s. So I just used what I found there and cut it up. I used the entire 4 foot piece to make this. I don't have the dimensions handy. I just used little finish nails to put it together. You could probably use screws, but as thin as this material is, you really need to pre-drill them, and they need to be pretty small. Just the finish nails and a dab of wood glue seems to work pretty well. The top does rock a little bit, and you can't see it from this picture, but when you get the weight swinging, this arm up top will move slightly. It's not bad, and I don't think it's going to affect anything in the long run. I think it's 1/8 inch by, or maybe even a 1/16 by 2 inch wide. That's actually about 1.5 inch wide piece of aluminum flat bar that I used. Again, I figured it would work better than a piece of wood, and I didn't want to cut anymore, so I use that. I think that's about it. It's pretty simple. It's not too difficult to build. If you do use it on a flat, kind of a slick surface like this, you probably will want to put some sort of like rubber feet underneath, like the little pieces of rubber that keep cabinet doors from slamming closed, things like that, just to keep it from sliding. If you make the base wider, it won't move around quite as much. You can see this one, if I really swing it hard, it tends to slide a little bit. So you can counteract that by either more friction underneath or building the base a little wider. But I'm anxious to give it a try. It's more of a novelty than anything really, but it'll be fun to play around with. I was in the mood to tinker, and I was listening to Steve Anderson's podcast, and he mentioned building a dry fire swinger to work on tracking the target and work on his timing and things like that. And I was on the way home and had some time to kill, and so I decided to swing by Lowe's and see if I could put one together. The total cost for everything was under 20 bucks, and that includes buying the overpriced piece of aluminum and poplar wood and all the bolts and stuff, because I didn't feel like digging through my hardware bucket to find the everything. Like I mentioned before, the bolt at the bottom is 1/4 by 20, and those are 1/4 inch fender washers. Everything else up top is number 10, like 10 by 24 machine thread. Seems to fit all the holes, and I just drilled 3/16 holes in the aluminum flat bar. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and look for my next video. Thanks, guys.